So what are we protesting today?
Basically, it's loud. We have a lot of support out here. There's a lot of little things. There's some forward-thinking stuff about AI happening, but in general, the way it has worked for writers for a long time, we're only paid for the tip of the iceberg of our labor, the most measurable part of our labor, and that's always been functional because we had residuals to coast on in between things, and we would be well compensated when we were paid. They're kind of squeezing us from both sides right now, where residuals have gone down to basically nothing on the streaming platforms, and we're working fewer and fewer weeks, and they're just getting the same amount of labor out of fewer and fewer people and less time. And the upshot is that a lot of writers can't afford to maintain this as a career. So that's what we're looking for, a few structural changes just to get what we consider to be a fair piece of a pie we baked.
Yeah. Okay. So I see a lot of signs, concerns about AI. What are some of your experiences with AI thus far, and what are you afraid of in the future regarding AI?
So far, I don't feel particularly threatened with what's available right now. I've played around with it a lot. I think it could be a great tool. I think the concern is knowing the way that the studios want to squeeze less and less pay and more labor. The idea would be that they would use AI to generate whatever parts of it they could, and then have a writer come in at the last minute and make it sing, do the beginning and the end, so that again they're paying us for less and less of our time. I'm talking on my ass a little bit right now because I don't understand the technology necessarily, but I think it's a forward-looking thing that I think one of the reasons that there's so many SAG people out here today and IATSE people is because they understand that if AI is unregulated totally in our contracts, it'll become a problem for all of us.
Okay. Can you describe some of your negative interactions with the studios, or some of the negative interactions with the studios that you've heard from other writers?
I don't want to be too negative. Again, they have their incentives and we have ours. Theirs is to get the most content out of us while paying us the least. And so they do a lot of kind of working the contract and finding ways to, if we don't greenlight a show yet, we can pay you this smaller rate while you write all the scripts, and then we'll greenlight it afterwards. That kind of thing, where we don't wind up getting compensated, but we wind up doing the same amount of work. And I think that's, as long as they're allowed to do that, they're going to continue to do it. That's what their shareholders need from them, and that's why we have to make sure the contract is very clear.
Got it. And I've heard a lot of talk about a disappearing middle class in the WGA. Can you describe more of that for me?
Yeah, I think people who have been at this less time, like myself, most of us have jobs in between shows, which again, we are always developing, we're always doing the work and betting on ourselves that we'll be able to get the next job and get paid again. But most of us are going back to, I've been a barista, I've been a copywriter, and ideally, because you are working full time, developing and pitching yourself and writing samples, ideally you would be able to make it through paying rent in those in-between times. And that's not really happening. So there's people making a lot of money, but there's a lot of people not making enough to get by.